A front runner is emerging. Multiple news outlets this morning are reporting that Colorado Circuit Court Judge Neil Gorsuch has risen to the top of the list and will be the choice of President Trump to fill Antonin Scalia's vacant seat on the court. I want to bring in Fox senior judicial analyst Judge Andrew Napolitano. And Judge, I know you had a meeting with Trump last week, but you said you didn't actually talk specific names. What do you know about Judge Gorsuch?
I know that he is high on the list, and I'm going to use an unusual word which will make somebody in heaven laugh, in terms of Scalia-ness, which is basically what they were looking for. They actually input metrics into a computer, looking for code words and phrases and references towards ideology in the published opinions of judges to see how they compared most favorably to Justice Scalia. Judge Gorsuch compared very favorably. In fact, of the 20 names on the list, I think he was number 2 in terms of all these target words and phrases and ideas to compare him. He is certainly a traditionalist. He's certainly a conservative. And he accepts a concept that Justice Scalia never succeeded in getting the rest of the court to accept, but something that he did inject profoundly into our jurisprudence, which is the idea of originalism, which simply means the meaning of the Constitution was fixed at the time it was ratified and at the 27 times it was amended thereafter. It doesn't change with the times, and the Supreme Court can't change its meaning. This is the opposite of the view taken by, for example, Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who believes that the Constitution is a living document that can expand the government's power to meet the government's needs, even in ways never contemplated by the framers.
It's a very important analysis that you just made, and it was great. Thank you for that. Let me show you this quote that Senator Schumer said last week, okay? Quote, "It's hard for me to imagine a nominee that Donald Trump would choose that would get Republican support that we could support on the Supreme Court."
Well, it's hard for me to imagine that Donald Trump would choose a nominee to please Chuck Schumer. I mean, I realize that Schumer is the minority leader in the Senate, but the president has promised that he will appoint someone very, very much like Justice Scalia. Senator Schumer was not in the Senate when Justice Scalia was confirmed, but I doubt that if he had been, he would have voted to affirm him. What Senator Schumer is looking for is the type of nominee that President Obama offered in the 2 seats that he filled with Justice Kagan and Justice Sotomayor. On the other hand, I think that Senator Schumer will find this a fruitless venture if he attempts to prevent a vote on this or to filibuster this because he doesn't approve of the ideology of the person.
But can they stop it?
Well, it's a very interesting question. Our own Chris Wallace asked that question twice of Senator McConnell, the majority leader in the Senate, on Fox News Sunday. And Senator McConnell answered the same way both times. And Chris got a little bit more aggressive, and he said the nominee will be confirmed. Does that mean you're going to use the nuclear option and bar the Democrats from filibustering? He said, Chris, the nominee will be confirmed.
Sounds like yes, Dave. Whatever they can to get their nominee.
But the Democrats are angry because of Merrick Garland.
Yes, they are.
Not? That is one of the reasons that you have heightened anger.
Yes.
Because Merrick Garland, as you have said repeatedly on this network, on the news channel, centrist, a very centrist pick for Obama.
And certainly qualified. And had he been nominated by President Obama for one of the other seats, while Justice Scalia was still alive, clearly would have been confirmed. But listen, I know Senator Schumer. I like him. I am seated next to him on the shuttle a lot, going from Reagan to LaGuardia, and that's where we chat. But he is fooling no one if he thinks that Donald Trump is going to tailor his appointment to suit the Democrats. That's not what he was elected for. He was elected for the opposite of that. He was elected promising to find another Antonin Scalia, and that's what he believes he's doing.
A lot of people are afraid that whoever comes in is going to start revisiting some of the big issues that people are concerned about, whether it's gay marriage or whether it's Roe v. Wade. What do you think of the people that you know he might be considering is going to happen?
Roe v. Wade, the 44th anniversary.
I think that Roe v. Wade's days are numbered.
Really?
That will not stop abortion in the United States. It will leave it up to the states. So in some states like New Jersey, where it's legal today up to the moment of birth, It will still stay that way. In other states, I don't want to suggest them, but some states have been more aggressive in their efforts to pull back on abortion. It will be unlawful, and you'll have to vote with your feet. You'll have to go to a state where the surgical procedure that you want is available. In terms of same-sex marriage, I don't see any change. There are no cases in the pipeline. The Supreme Court sometimes changes its mind, but rarely 180 degrees. And within 3 years of just having said that same-sex marriage is lawful, it's extremely unlikely that they would take the opposite position tomorrow.
Gorsuch is the closest on Trump's list to a Washington insider. Apparently, he's the son of former EPA Administrator Ann Gorsuch, educated in the Ivy League and at Oxford.
Yes.
Law clerk to Justice Anthony Kennedy.
Yes.
Yeah,
and
his mom was
Justice
the first
Byron Wright.
woman
Some
to run
people will.
The EPA, yeah.
Some of Donald Trump's, shall we say, more revolutionary base will say we don't want an insider. We don't want a person that's already a member of the establishment. Everybody on that list, with the exception of Justice Don Willett of the Texas Supreme Court, is a Washington insider member of the establishment. Trump never said he wouldn't appoint that type of person. He said he would appoint a person who thinks like Justice Scalia, and he is safe in saying that Judge Gorsuch is in that category.
Can I ask you just a real quick question, because you brought up Roe v. Wade, you brought up same-sex marriage. What in the court's future would this future justice, where could the law be impacted? The way that we live today, where could the laws change potentially?
Well, remember, the Supreme Court doesn't sit in Washington and say, that's constitutional, that's unconstitutional, that's a maybe. They have no authority except for cases that are properly brought before them. And 99% of the time, for cases to be properly brought before them, they start at a trial court, they go to an intermediate appeals court, they get to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court affects less than 0.5% of all litigation in the United States, because it just doesn't make its way up there. So it's impossible to predict today what type of cases would come there. However, with respect to Roe versus Wade, the president is not a fan of Roe versus Wade. He campaigned against Roe versus Wade. He's appointed an attorney general who's unabashedly pro-life on the theory that Roe versus Wade sets policy that shouldn't be set by the court, finds a federal issue that's nowhere in the Constitution. Even Justice Scalia believed that Roe versus Wade was wrong because abortion is a medical procedure, and medical procedures are regulated by the states and not by the federal courts.
And he sided with religious groups against President Obama's requirement that employers provide health insurance that include contraception.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Judge, good to see you.
Always a
Thank
pleasure.
you so much.
More about this soon.
Napolitano.